One hell of a night last night. Like, I thought fighting Hurricane Nestor was probably the hardest thing I've ever done on this sailboat, and it was. But last night, it was all the way. It went all the way. Last time on Sailing Balachandra, we traveled the Cape Cod Canal, had a failed attempt on Bermuda, lost our dinghy, but then got it back.
Driving on top of cars. Going through Hell's Gate right now. Doing 8 knots.
We're in New York City. I don't understand.
I've been wanting to say that for ages.
We're out anchored by the Statue of Liberty. We anchored here overnight.
We came in at night, doing 8 knots through Hell's Gate, and it being lit up at night was absolutely stunning. I'm really glad we did it. There was hardly any boat traffic.
Yeah.
I don't know, it was magical.
It was amazing. There's Manhattan. That is ice. We are in Manhattan, and there we are, anchored out on the Hudson River. There's a crazy current here. We're just heading out here soon. We've been kind of hanging out in Manhattan for a couple days. Yeah, I know, it's cold, right? It's cold. It's really cold. It's like 0 degrees Celsius. We're leaving tonight. We're gonna head down the coast, and New York's pretty cool. We'd like to stay longer, but we gotta get going.
We left Manhattan around 11 p.m. I think it was last night. It was good to leave. We were so cold and our furnace is on the fritz. Last night was brutal sailing. We were supposed to take shifts, but Dan didn't wake me up, and I woke up and I looked outside and it was daylight, and I was like, what? I needed the sleep, and honestly, I don't know how you did it. Like, it was cold. We had a sleeping bag down below, so we brought it on deck. It's nice for me to get up, take my time, brush my teeth, make coffee, get on deck. Dan pointed me in the right direction, and then I just took over, had the mainsail up, doing about 6 knots. The motor's going, so our apparent wind is like 15, 16 right now. We're on our way to Atlantic City or Cape May. There's a storm coming, so we want to make our way over, get there as quickly as possible, find a safe anchorage.
Hey guys, we're in Cape May. That's where we put in after sailing down the Jersey coast. We sailed straight here. We started in the middle of the night, sailed a whole day, and then sailed a whole night and pulled in. It was like 4 in the morning, and we anchored at about 6 in the morning. We slept, and then we came in here into Cape May for the afternoon, got our diesel, got our water.
We're not worried about the storm. We're in Cape May, and we've talked to a lot of the locals, and everyone said that we're perfectly fine on anchor, and they're not concerned in the slightest, so I don't think we should be either.
Yeah, and the storm's pretty much offshore. From what I've read and what people have been telling us, Cape May here is pretty well protected. Now there's something you don't see every day. Holy. Out of Cape May yesterday around 1, 2 p.m. We were watching the weather really closely, and it looked like we have a Bermuda window. It only works if we time it perfectly. We had to leave Cape May at that exact time, following a big storm that just passed through, the one that we rode on anchor there. We had 2 anchors out, so that was a bit of a challenge, but we were able to do it. What we need to do is get past Norfolk and then south of Cape Hatteras, and if we can get to that area tonight, then we have the rest of the week to get to Bermuda without any storms or bad winds at all. Noel is hand steering the boat past Cape Hatteras, which is right over there. Can't really see it, but that's Cape Hatteras. It's dangerous. It's notorious for being, you know, a crazy place, big waves, shifting currents, shallow waters, and all that stuff. But we were blessed with a really nice day so far, anyway. So we're crossing the Cape, hopefully without incident. One hell of a night last night. Like, I thought fighting Hurricane Nestor was probably the hardest thing I've ever done on this sailboat, and it was. But last night, it was all the way. It went all the way. I mean, all the sailing stories you hear about from people, and they say it was hard, you know, we hit the worst conditions and we rode out storms. Like, it was one of those. It was very serious. It was a life-threatening experience. I said it several times during that we needed to do something because our lives were in danger otherwise. The weather window looked really good for Bermuda this time, like our second shot at Bermuda, and we were pretty excited. So we tried to hug the land a little closer so that we could use our cell phones to get an updated weather report, and then we got our weather. And it looked like things were turning a little for the worse with our plan for Bermuda. We knew that we had to go south to get away from a low pressure system, but the system had changed while we left, and to make this opportunity we had to go even farther south, like farther south than Cape Hatteras. We got to Cape Hatteras right where the marks are, like you actually cross the Cape. It got really riley. The sea state wasn't terrible, but there was those 2 opposing currents. One is, I guess, the Gulf Stream moving north, and the other would be a north current, a cold water current moving south. And when they meet there at Cape Hatteras, man, it is insane. Like, we couldn't record anything. We couldn't take our hands off of the equipment. It's hard to steer. You've got one current pushing you one way. Like, autopilot does nothing. So you basically have to hand steer through big waves. Then we came out the other side of that, and things looked like they were manageable. The water turned this beautiful royal blue. It's been turquoise here all along the coast, but out there, man, it feels like you're on another planet. It's insane.
It was a washing machine. As we started going more southeast out into that royal blue, it just turned for the worst.
It was brutal. I think it was like the opposing currents. I think it was the Gulf Stream and this wind that was picking up at the same time. We had large breaking waves. These waves were like probably 20 feet high at least. Breaking waves. We crashed into them all. Like, they would hit us on the beam, they'd hit us on the stern. Like, no consistency. It was like a washing machine, like you said, just waves from all directions. And 1 in every 5th wave was a rogue wave. We just looked at each other and said, if we're going to be fighting this, hand steering, because the autopilot can't take it.
With the hand steering, because of the craziness of the ocean, Dan and I were taking like 15-20 minute rotational goes at handling the wheel because our arms just started to get sore and hindered. We were working on muscles and we typically don't work out.
Like nobody was gonna go to bed and do a
I'm really glad that Dan had set up our storm jib. He rigged up the whole boat before we even considered going out in that direction.
Yeah. We have the drogue ready to deploy off the stern that we built. You can watch that in another video here. We've always had a storm jib on board, and I rigged it all up before we even left Cape May, thinking like this is something we might need. We ended up furling up our jib because we were just heavily overpowered.
We had almost 40 knots of wind on top of that washer machine effect that the ocean had.
Yeah, it was insane.
Our arms were jello.
So we had 3 reefs in the main, blowing like 7 knots downwind, which was, you'd think downwind would be more comfortable when you're falling off every wave. It's not. So the choices were hove to or head back to shore, and we had hardly gone out that far. Like the Gulf Stream there at Cape Hatteras is pretty close. You hit it right away. It's just a recipe for disasters. Like those conditions we were in, if you weren't properly prepared, if you didn't have a storm jib, if you didn't have several reefs in your mainsail that you could bring down, you would have broached for sure. You could have been dismasted. So today we're heading into Beaufort. We had turned back. We sailed all the way down the coast from Hatteras to Cape Lookout, and we rounded Cape Lookout last night, and we got really low on fuel. So I realized that 3 of the little clips that hold the main to the track were broken from the extreme just the weather we had. I'm pretty sure my chain locker is flooded with seawater, so that's something we got to take care of, and hopefully it didn't damage the windlass. And other than that, we're pretty much good to go. So we're just coming up on the Beaufort Inlet now. We'll get in there and be safe and take a break because we need it.
Thanks for watching. For all of you that haven't subscribed yet, please do so.
Yeah,
it's right there.
Yeah, click it. Click subscribe.
Right there. Zeus is telling you where it is. If you want to support us further, check out our Patreon page. You know what? Check out our Patreon page for only Zeus, for those Zeus lovers. How about that? I think that's a brilliant idea.
Zeus exclusive videos coming to Patreon soon. If you don't become a patron, you're going to miss out on Zeus.
Zeus.
This guy.
This guy.
Exclusive.
Just him.
Yeah. Swimming with sharks.
No!
If you want, leave a like or a comment below because we love it when you guys leave comments. See you later.